All right, so it is 7 p.m. Call a meeting to order. Pledge of allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, roll call.
Flores.
Here.
Gonzalez.
Here.
Hussein.
Here.
Jost. Macy Jack.
Here.
Pelletier here. Puzo here.
He's always here.
Thank you.
Next up, public comments, agenda items only. It's just us here tonight. Next, is there anything that anyone would like to pull off of the consent agenda? Then I'll make a motion to approve the items on the consent agenda, including the regular board meeting minutes, financial reports for May 2024, and the executive director vacation.
I'll second.
Okay.
Any questions? Corrections on the minutes or anything? Okay.
Gonzalez.
Here.
Oh, we're voting on the consent agenda.
Consent agenda.
Yes.
Thank you. Hussein.
Yes.
Macy Jack.
Yes.
Pelletier, yes. Puzo.
Yes.
Flores.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you for including your details on your executive and your vacation. Please try to look at your email as little as possible.
I know it's still months
And it's
away,
and it's
but
months away, but
we got everything booked, so I thought I may as well take care
Yeah.
of it. And,
Nice.
Yeah, be done
no,
with it.
no, love it. Love it. It's a good thing to look forward to. President's report. I mean, the only thing is just a brag of just how many people are just so excited about the summer reading program, and everyone's loving the dragon design, which is probably repetitive because you guys probably have heard of everyone loving the dragon design, but it makes you it makes you feel proud when you get those little compliments. So and thank you for the t-shirts. I think we're all very excited to wear those very
Yes.
proudly. So
Yeah.
okay, committee reports, finance we covered under consent agenda. Facilities, there's some little bits, I reported on a big piece about the concrete being repaired. I don't think there's anything else major with that. The elevator was the big thing, and that's done. Policy, I don't think you guys meet until
Early.
Yeah, we're trying to set a date.
Okay.
So
I know that.
I just
so
voted,
does
so-
Jeff.
Did you? Okay, good.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Okay.
So I did a doodle poll for Tamara,
Oh, okay.
Mohammed, and Mark, and so Mark said he just voted. So
Great.
I'll be, because we thought we were going to be able to meet on the 27th, but Mohammed will be out.
Sorry,
So
you're the
that's
reason.
okay. That's
Well, and I was
okay.
the one who suggested the 27th,
Yeah,
so I
that's
felt
not
even
okay.
worse.
I
It's
know.
not-
So, and I appreciate the committee postponing the meeting a little bit. We were originally slated to meet this past Monday, but we're still working on finalizing our collection development policy, and we're developing a programming policy that I wanted to have complete before we got to the policy committee, because I wanted the policy committee to look at those. So I appreciate them being willing to move the date on that.
Okay. So most likely there'll be something to review.
Yeah,
July.
there will
Yeah.
be, absolutely, that's why I wanted to get that done. I'd also like to ask the facilities committee, or perhaps we can talk about how the board would like to do this, to review the facilities assessment and to discuss priorities for next year, kind of the next big project. I mean, I have some ideas, but I thought it might be a good idea to at least meet with the facilities committee, unless the board wants to meet as a whole, but I was hoping to do that relatively soon because, you know, I mean, we're already halfway through the year, and I'll start doing the budget process probably within the next couple of weeks.
I would agree.
Yeah, I don't know if we want to set a meeting date after the meeting, if
Yeah.
you're okay with just the facilities committee meeting, or if the whole board wants to be there with them.
Let's have the facilities committee. Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, thank you
If
for
we could
that.
do that, that would be awesome. Thank you.
Okay. Great. All right, so we're right up to staff reports. Well, before, I also just wanted to say with staff reports, congratulations to them on being elected so you're past president CCS.
Yeah, so,
Again.
yeah, because they have, the woman who is filling that position, she's retiring and moving to Spain, actually.
Oh,
I know,
I'm so sad for
extremely
her.
jealous. So, you know, I always joke around with the staff and stuff, like, you know, like, what to do if someone gets hit by a bus. I think I've told this story before, and I try not to never say that, but I say, what if you win the lottery and move to Spain? And now someone
Yeah.
But they asked me if I would be willing to be nominated and elected again, since I had served in that role once before, so I said yes, so.
That's great, that's great. I think, really pleased about our new service of offering license plate renewal stickers. Just the fact that, it began just less than a month ago. We've already sold 8, I mean, it just.
We've sold another 8.
So
It's already, it's exceeding our expectations
Yeah.
based on what other libraries have sold when they've done it, like the people that we've talked to.
Yeah.
And also the company that we're working with that is providing the stickers. They only send you out a small handful at the beginning because they just assume that's kind of how many, but we're already getting so many that they're sending us like 50 at a time now,
Yeah.
so.
Are these Menard Grove stickers or the
No, they're the license
License plate stickers. You can do that here now.
So you can do that here.
This is the man that was here last month, Molly?
we told him it was coming.
Yeah.
Yes, I think we mentioned it was coming, yeah.
Yeah.
And we're still waiting on passport services, we haven't heard anything from the Department of State, so fingers crossed about that.
Okay.
We are considering notary services, we're still looking into that because there's different levels of notarization that you can offer, so, you know, we kind of need to do a little bit more investigation to see if that would be something that would be worthwhile for us to do, because there's also a cost associated with providing the notary training.
Oh, there is, okay.
Yeah, I don't remember, Suzanne, when you did it, I want to say it was like $500, and
Yeah.
it wasn't
Is it? Oh,
particularly
it's
cheap.
significant. Oh.
So we would have to, you know, and part of the reason behind having some of these services is so that it's a place people can go kind of on off hours, right, the weekends, on the Sundays, something like that. So we would have to really look at, would it be worth it to spend, you know, upwards of $1,000, $1,500, $2,000, $3,000 to get people trained to do that? I wouldn't see enough interest. And would it be the type of notary notarization that we can provide? Because I think there's some financial stuff that there's, like I said, different levels of being a notary, and so there's some financial things that require a higher level, and then I think some real estate things as well. So
What about the liability?
Well, that's what I'm saying, is that
I mean, for us.
right?
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. That's part of it.
That's part of
when
like
you
the-
provide that level
Yeah.
of service. There is some liability.
That's why there's a
insurance.
$500 cost for the training, so.
So,
Yeah.
so we'll have to see. So like Suzanne is a notary, but she's got just what they call a basic level, I guess. I'm not sure what they call it, but it's that kind of general level that's saying, yes, you have proven that you are who you say you are, kind of thing. But then I think for real estate and some financial stuff, it's kind of a higher level.
Yeah.
And then there's, like you said, there's some liability associated with that. So
Yeah.
that would be something we would have to think about. And I'm really not super comfortable with that. So we're still, like I said, we're still kind of examining that a little bit.
Yeah. But it's great to see that there's so many license plate stickers that have been sold. It just proves that this is something that our patrons,
Yeah.
you know, wanted.
How many
and,
were
you know.
expired already?
I don't know, actually, but it's
That's
so we've
the
decided
thing.
like kind of how we're gonna market it, because it was funny because we started it May 14th or whatever, and so like those last couple weeks of May, particularly last week, I think is when we got most of them, because people realized, oh, it's the end of the month, so
Right,
I think
right.
that's gonna be kind of our marketing thing, is that
I would keep
it's,
a
you know,
record.
the end of the month is approaching, did you get your license plate sticker renewed? Hey, that's
awesome. I know.
So, yeah.
Yeah, you probably have like a rush to like, oh crap, you know.
That's what I told Jeff when he suggested that, and I said, as long as you've got staff there to do it, when you've got this rush of people coming to
Right.
get their license plate stickers, but
Yeah.
it's good.
And so the next, this coming Tuesday, you're hosting with the director of the Morton Grove Chamber of Commerce, what is the title of it, but it's local elected officials are
More
coming in.
I think they're
Chamber
calling
of
it
Commerce,
legislative
Legislative
breakfast or
Thursday
something,
breakfast.
Yeah.
Sticky donuts, excuse
So,
me, but.
or, yeah.
My general question, just with everyone here, is if there's any trustees interested in coming,
I already said that.
would you like us to register?
Yes, we are,
Okay.
just so that,
Okay.
so that we've got a record of how many people are coming.
Not
and-
making it
and,
mandatory for anyone, I just thought that maybe I wasn't the only one who had this question.
We are, we put it on our website, because when I talked to the chamber last week actually about it, because it was kind of up in the air about whether or not it was, I was a little unsure whether or not it was gonna be open to the public, and several of the staff had asked. And, so I had a chamber meeting last week, and we decided it would be open to the public. But Mark Mantz, the director of the chamber, asked if we could have people registered for it, so
Okay.
that they have a record of who came.
Okay.
But there's a number of patrons that have signed up already,
Great.
and, yeah, so it'd be, I mean, I think it's a good panel
Yeah.
of legislators, so, should be good.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask that question in case anyone else had that question too, so. So we're still under, Pam's, director reports. Does anyone else have any questions or comments?
It's not really for May, but I did want to also, I think I copied the trustees on the email, thanking the staff for helping out with our summer reading pickup program last week. It was extremely successful,
Awesome.
and Anna was there, which was good, and lots of people, Kona Ice, the fire department was there, the police department was there for a while, we had a great band,
Credit
face
union.
painter, we did a book sale.
Yeah, that's
We had
awesome.
closed off the street this year, which is the first year that we have done that, and we received a lot of comments on that, how people really appreciated it, they felt a lot more safe, that, it gave the kids more room, it allowed us to set things up in a way that, everything was kind of very crowded last year, I think it felt,
Yeah.
especially when people were lining up to get Kona Ice and free popcorn and different things like that, so this gave us the ability to spread out, so we'll continue to do it this way
Yeah.
and in subsequent years, but I think the most successful event that we've had, I think, like I said, it's always hard to count the exact number of people in an event such as that, but we figured it was about 500 people at least, because we gave away
Wow.
Yeah, that's,
450 Kona Ice tickets, and not everyone got Kona Ice.
Wow.
So I figure 500 is a low number, but that's kind of our
That's a great
ballpark, so,
amount.
yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Well, kudos to the staff for putting on such a great event. Any other questions for Pam?
You want to skip the-
Yes. And we're gonna take a little pause right here in the agenda and say, hi, Brian.
Good evening.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for rushing over from Deerfield.
No problem, it was perfect.
But Brian is here to present on the audits everyone have. Everyone should have 2 books. Yeah. So I'm sure you had a busy evening, so we'll let you.
Well, thank you very much
Yeah.
for accommodating my schedule, I appreciate it. You should have an annual financial report, we'll start with that document. It's good to see you all. This is the document resulting from the audit for your year ended December 31st, 2023. So if you turn past the table of contents, you'll come to page 1 on Sickage letterhead, which is the independent auditor's report. So when you engage the auditor, you're asking them to give an opinion on your financial statements. So how do you go about doing such a thing? There's 2 sets of standards. One set of standards are the auditing standards. So those come from the AICPA, the American Institute for Certified Public Accountants. And those standards tell us the types of procedures we need to perform when we're conducting our audit. Then the second set of standards are, then once you do that, then what's the document need to look like? And the document, the audit report itself, in terms of the financial statements, comes from the rules from the Governmental Accounting Standards Board, or GASB. So GASB sets the rules for the financial statements. So once we follow those 2 sets of standards, we can then issue an opinion. We're pleased to present an unmodified or clean audit opinion, and what that means is that the financial statements are presented fairly in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles, free of material misstatement. And this is the highest level of opinion that you can receive on your financial statements. If you turn over to page 4, page 4 is the first audited financial statements, so first statement with numbers, statement of net position. This takes the entire district, puts it all in one column and layers the numbers that you see on a monthly basis, your short-term, cash and investments, and layers on top of that your capital assets, like this building, and your long-term liabilities in the liability section. So this statement, and then as you turn to page 5, the statement of activity, you only see in the annual audit report it's required to receive that unmodified opinion. On page 5 is the consolidated income statement. The expenses on the upper left include a charge for depreciation, which is the allocation of expense of the capital assets of the district. And your overall increase in net position, 430,000, 3 lines up from the bottom of the page, tells you that you're economically better off as a result of the year of operations. What you're more used to seeing is on page 6. Page 6 is your balance sheet. This is just short-term assets and liabilities. Comes down to fund balance. Fund balance would be reserves, the reserves that you had to start the fiscal year that you're operating now. So if your main operating fund with the general fund, that non-major column is your special reserve fund. So your fund balance in the general fund, if you look 2 lines up from the bottom of the page in the left-hand column, 2,168,164, and then you had 45,000 in your special reserve. Page 8 is the operating statement. So this shows revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balance. For the year, you had $3,760,000 in revenue with $3,741,000 in expenditures, so a slight increase in fund balance of $19,350, and your only activity in the special reserve fund was the interest that it earned, $2,260. If we go to the notes to the financial statements, page 10, the job of the notes to the financial statements is to give additional information supporting those statements that we just reviewed. So the first note, like it says, summary of significant accounting policies, all the policies in place to formulate those statements. We'll jump ahead to page 16. Page 16 is we're in the middle of the note on deposits and investments. This note disclosure is intended to tell you things about your cash and investments. What I'd focus on is note 2A, custodial credit risk. So you have deposits at financial institutions, and you want to protect against the risk that if that financial institution were to go out of business, would you get your money back? And there's 2 ways to get your money back: $250,000 in FDIC insurance, but then as a local government, you can have the bank pledge collateral, meaning securities that are held at a third party. One of those procedures that we perform in our audit is to make sure that all your deposits are fully collateralized in accordance with your investment policy. If you had any uncollateralized deposits, we would note it. We've noted that all of your deposits were insured and collateralized. So that's good news. We'll jump ahead to page 34, which is the operating statement for your general fund, but it has the budget numbers attached to it as well. So all in all, the year was very comparable to your budget. Revenues a little bit less than budget, mainly due to replacement taxes, which are extremely hard to predict with the state, and then expenditures all as anticipated as well. Page 35 is we get into pension information. So your current employees pay into the Illinois Municipal Retirement Fund through your participation with the village. So each and every month you pay in your fair share, which for 2023 amounted to $100,893, right on top of what was required by the actuary. What makes IMRF a very well-funded plan is that every unit of government throughout the state that participates puts in their fair share, and so it makes it, like I said, a very well-funded plan. That $100,000 represented 7.13% of the covered payroll in IMRF. The next page then is the village auditors so back up a step, the IMRF only recognizes the village as an entity that can participate in IMRF. you can participate through the village as a municipal library. So the village auditors determine basically how much of the actuary report applies to the village and how much applies to the library based on the payroll of the library as a percentage of the total. So you were at 22.94% of the total. And so your proportionate share of the net pension liability is $342,000. This was through December 31st, 2022, because the 23 information was not yet available when we were working on our audit. And you were at 89.64% funded, so a very well-funded plan, which is that bottom right number. Down slightly from 2021, and the main reason for that is 2022 was just not a very good year in the markets for investments. I would anticipate that number in 23 bounce back up probably at least 5% because the market's doing much better in 23. Then we get over to the Municipal Employers Retirement Fund, which is your legacy retirement plan, and you put in exactly what was recommended by the actuary of $200,304. Obviously, you don't have a lot of current covered payroll there, but you have individuals drawing a benefit from that plan. So the actuary results for that plan are on page 38 to 39. So this comes from the actuaries for the MRF plan through December 31st, 2022. The liability for the individuals in that plan, meaning the estimate that the actuaries have made for what those pension benefit payments are going to be to those individuals for their lifetime, present value back to December 31st, 2022 was $1,886,840. At the end of the year, you had $26,000 in the plan. So you're essentially each year you're funding basically enough to make the payments. The payments going out are about $199,000 a year. So that you can expect that $200,000 number continues and probably bumps up a little bit as well. Those were the highlights of this document. The audit went smoothly and on time, basically just trying to get dates situated for me to be able to come and present the audit. Staff, very professional and easy to work with, and happy to answer any questions you may have.
Very thorough, as always. Any questions for Brian, anyone?
Appreciate you walking through it. Always makes
Oh, you're
more-
welcome.
It always makes more sense.
It does, yeah.
When you walk it through than when I look at it before.
Well, good, that's good to know. I appreciate the feedback.
All right. Well, if no one has any direct questions for Brian, then we thank you for your time.
You're very welcome.
And we're not kicking you out. But if you wanna, enjoy the rest of your evening, you're more than welcome to.
Thank you, I appreciate that. It was good to see you all.
Good to see you.
And the cicadas are alive and well out here.
Oh
So-
gosh, yeah,
very loud here.
they really dive on you, so.
I brought one in with me to my meeting in Deerfield, yeah. Good
Yeah,
times.
yeah.
Thanks,
Have a great night, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Very quick and thorough. All right.
Do we have to approve this?
Yes.
Okay. I will make, so there's not a number that I have to read or anything.
No, it's
Okay.
just the approve the 2023.
So I will make a motion to approve the 2023 audit.
Second.
Hussein,
Yes.
Masajan,
Yes.
Pelletier, yes, Puzo,
Yes.
Flores,
Yes.
Gonzalez.
Yes.
Thank you.
Right, thank you everyone. Okay, unfinished business. Executive director, job description, so Pam, well, actually, we're gonna vote on this tonight.
If there's no other changes you want to make.
Yeah.
Since then.
Okay, well, let's,
I think I explained it, but if
Yeah, I think
anyone
you
has
did.
any further
Yeah.
questions or anything.
Yeah, no, it's the latest one, so let's, open up. I make a motion to approve the executive director job description as presented.
I'll second.
So I know we discussed this a little bit last month, and Pam sent out some emails asking for any trustee feedback. And, you know, reading through this, you know, as Pam mentioned on the agenda notes, that the trustees, some trustees just appreciate and want more of the detailed job description, so, and as you're kind of reading through it, it's not repetitive, I felt like, so I think there are good bullet points under each section, and I think it's pretty thorough. Is everyone feeling comfortable with this version? I think it hits all the important parts. I think that addition to that on-site remote hybrid work, it was a prudent thing to mention, because people ask, I mean, it's just, you know, it's yeah, so.
And the more detailed version it wasn't really that much longer after everything was said and
Yeah.
done than the shorter version, so, and the feedback that I did get, as I mentioned, the trustees did prefer the more detailed one, so. And really, you know, kind of going forward for the board, something that's more clearly spelled out will, not that it's happening anytime soon, but will help you to fill the role, because you'll have a better understanding of some of the day-to-day things that maybe you don't see
Yeah.
as much, so.
Yeah, well, it's not a job that just has, you know, 5 responsibilities to
Right,
get done,
yeah.
so, you know.
Right. I mean, it could be as short as run the library, right? So-
Right, yeah.
Well, and right well.
One
Right.
run the library well.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah. But if everyone's feeling good about this, we can vote.
Lisa Jack,
Yes.
Pelletier, yes. Puzo,
Yes.
Flores,
Yes.
Gonzalez,
Yes.
Hussein.
Yes.
Okay, so next up, the succession plan. So this is a draft that Pam has prepared, and it seems like it goes through everything from, and, you know, a planned absence, an unplanned absence, who would be, you know, who would be serving as acting director in your in your absence. So the one thing that you did highlight on the first page, this is when the executive director to immediately inform the board president or another member of the trustee executive committee of the absence as soon as it is feasible. So should that be a specific time? I'm thinking yes, we can discuss what that specific time is. So basically, in the event of an unplanned absence, we would need, let's say Pam needed it, and, you know, also needed 2 months off or whatever it is. She would call me, call another member of the executive committee, and so basically, as soon as it is feasible, the president should then plan to meet with the executive committee, which definitely makes sense. So should that be a measurable time? Is it 3 to 5 business days? Is it 3, you know, that kind of thing. So that's something that we want to make sure that we're answering.
Or you can leave it as is. Suzanne and I were discussing this, and we were, you know, thinking, should it be 7 days, should it be 3 to 5? And so I thought I would leave that up to the board, what you
Okay.
felt comfortable with. But you know, I have seen it more frequently in other succession plans that I've looked at. It's a more general timeframe.
Okay.
However, 'cause sometimes getting the committee member getting together, I mean, as we've seen with some of the other, it can take longer. So that's the only reason that I would say you may want to have it be a little bit more flexible in the plan itself. Or you could just say that, you know, you know that you will do it within 7 days or whatever you wanna do. So
Yeah.
it's
Or
just-
we could just leave it as soon as it is feasible,
Yeah.
or no later than 5 days.
That's,
Because I like having a frame of reference, because feasible is kind of open-ended. What's
Right.
feasible for me may not be feasible
That's,
for.
yeah, that's the
That's a
whole
good
thing.
point.
but
yeah, I did,
within-
yeah, I agree. I didn't like it totally open-ended, so, but I think, you know, but we can keep that language in it as soon as it's feasible or
No later than.
we're no later than
Five-
Is it 5 work days or,
Well, work days for the library include weekends.
Yeah.
oh, yeah, but,
We could call
Yeah.
business days, or we could
Yeah.
just, we could say,
well, no, that's okay. Listen.
we could say 5 days and not overthink that part, but.
Or you could say 7 days and not everything.
Yeah,
That's right.
Change the number, yeah.
I mean, it's, that's, like I said, that was kind of the number that
Yeah.
Suzanne
I think so.
suggested, and I think it's, you know, it's a week,
Okay,
it's,
Mhm.
you know, meeting on the weekend may work out better, that kind of
Right,
thing.
that's what I'm saying. It would
Okay.
be-
Okay, so,
so if we, as soon as it is feasible, no later than 7 days, the president should convene a meeting of the executive committee to affirm the procedures described.
I have a question, just moving up a little bit from there, where it mentions the executive director will develop a separate detailed operational plan. So my question is, would it make sense to have like a form already available when the time comes? You just kind of fill in days or, you know, number of months the person will be gone or whatever. But to kind of have a mock-up available at the disposal of the because if the person's leaving, there could be drama or whatever. And this way, you're good to go. You just very simply fill in some pertinent dates or whatever might be needed. Just putting it out there for discussion. So that the director doesn't have to sit there and come up with the operational plan, but part of it is mapped out.
well, I
already.
think, I understand what you're saying, and I think that, in that instance in particular, they're talking about if, like, I know, let's say, for example, I need to have surgery or something like that,
Right,
and
that's-
I need to take a month off,
Right.
right? I'm gonna have some lead-up time that I'll be able to work out kind of the day-to-day operations in a way that will take into account time of year. You know, right now, I've got Jeff and Courtney as kind of, have indicated interest in, you know, either assistant
be
director or,
great.
right, I mean, but it's a good, it fits well with either what they're doing or their personalities or whatever, so, it could be that, like, if I know I have to have surgery in the summer, for example, the distribution of responsibilities or duties is gonna be different because of Courtney's schedule during the summer, because of summer reading, that kind of thing. So, whereas if it happened another time of year, that might be a little bit more equal, that sort of thing. So I think, while I understand what you're saying, it's depending on what the timing of everything, that might make a difference on how those duties are divided up between the two co-directors if we did that way, so.
I don't wanna get morbid here, but what if it's an emergency? and you-
That's what I
mean,
was thinking, like a heart
I
attack or
don't,
something.
I mean,
Well, yeah, no, I know what you're saying, I
It's-
mean, right, I mean, then,
Are they capable of just to say, okay, no problem, we'll take over? I mean, you can't
well,
Suzanne
I
a
didn't
break.
just appoint them this, and they have indicated that they are okay with this, and I have been, you know, working with them, like I said, Jeff is already my alternate at CCS and some different things like that. He's been taking on more responsibilities with the combination of the tech and CERT departments to the access services department. I've been giving Courtney some more things in terms of policies, just because they have been indicated an interest in getting more administrative experience. The emergency situation is, you know, we're gonna say I win the lottery and I move to Spain, not that I get
Okay,
to fly a
fine,
bus.
I'll take that one.
But this would be, you know, particularly Suzanne here, you know, they would be working very closely with her. This would kind of give them the just the very basics that they need.
Okay.
And I would say probably in that case, and a lot of factors come into play, again, time of year, different things like that. The board would, I would think at that point, very much consider you know, do you need to hire a consultant, do you need to hire an interim director, that kind of thing, in a true emergency situation, where I just was unavailable to assist with anything, right? So, well, if I win the lotto and move to Spain, I'll give you plenty of notice, but
Didn't we already do this for one of the directors? Why am I
I
having a
don't,
flash?
I don't know, we've never had one when I've been here, I don't know if it was something that Deborah had done, but I mean, so,
well,
and I don't have records, I mean, I have access to the records, but I.
We did have a temporary, not when you were here, but the temporary,
Interim director.
what was the guy's name that?
You had, so,
Be the only
so
person
after,
with- no,
so
Carlotta.
before I was here the first time, Natalia and Kevin acted as co-directors for that year
Okay.
after Ben left.
Yeah, okay, I knew there was some time.
And the
that-
good news is that, you know, I mean, both Jeff and Courtney are very capable. They do know this facility
I mean, the
very
whole
well.
management team
I mean,
is,
yeah.
And no,
and the whole staff.
and not to
Right.
discount anyone else in the management team, but we have a great staff, and so they do, you know how and when to step up if needed. So that's the blessing that we have with the staff.
Yeah, I'm not worried about that, I'm sure they're very capable, but.
Yeah.
And then we got Suzanne.
Yes, right. I mean, a lot of
She's out.
that day-to-day stuff is gonna be, you know, either planned or unplanned, they're gonna be relying on Suzanne to be
I
there
mean,
and to assist
had
with
it happen
that,
to me,
so,
it's.
yeah, so I think that, so in an actual emergency where I was absolutely incommunicado for whatever reason, in a coma or God forbid, or whatever.
Yeah.
But, I feel like this would be a good starting point for them.
Yeah.
And then further decisions could be made about consultants, interim,
Yeah.
you know, those kinds of things.
Yeah.
And all the information you put at the end regarding like banking and
Right.
all of the stuff you need to.
And that's the reason for
Perfect.
doing that, is that kind of, is like, here's kind of the bare bones basis
That's what
of
you
what
need
you
to know.
need to have, you know, to kind of make it through the first, you know, to keep things kind of running,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. On the second page, under the authority and compensation of the acting director, is that, so those three options, would that be determined, case by case kind of
Yeah,
thing?
I guess I would assume so. I mean,
Okay.
these are various options that are made available to people when they take on additional roles like this. So for example, if we go back to Kevin and Natalia,
Kevin
when
took
they
it
did,
over and I forget
and
what we did.
then, they both received, additional compensation during the
Yeah,
time that they
they
acted
got
as
that.
directors.
Okay.
So, but you may say, you know, like if it's for a month, you might say that doesn't make sense to make that change for only 2 payrolls, right? We'll just give you a bonus of X number of dollars
Gotcha.
or something like that. So a lot of it just depends on the length of time and that kind of thing.
Okay.
Or you could take this number off.
Oh, you're,
Oh,
okay,
I just noticed that, I'm sorry.
that's fine. Yeah, I mean, this is the
Oh,
first
yes.
draft, so.
Take all one. Okay. Any other corrections for anyone on the personal information? Everyone read through that. But very thorough, I mean, you have Frank's name on there as well. So with this, we are not gonna be voting on this tonight, as this is our first reading, so, we've already talked about a couple of revisions. If, hopefully everyone read through this, does anyone have anything else that really stuck out, or anything that you wanna talk about?
On the next, on page 3, where it's halfway down, the board will appoint a search committee. So my question is, the search committee consists of who? Is it board members, staff members, a blend of both? What is,
Where are you looking?
what's needed for the search?
In the middle of page 3, under 6.
Oh, I see it.
Yeah.
That,
Ugh.
my assumption would be that that is a committee that the board puts together. Whatever you feel.
Of board?
Whatever you want, whatever the board would feel is important to have on the search committee. That's not something that obviously I wouldn't tell you that, or,
Yeah.
it would just it would depend on the board. There are some boards that do, when they hire someone, they either have staff on the search committee, or they involve the staff in other ways, or there's some that just say, you know, this is our employee, like I'm your employee, and your search committee is gonna be a subcommittee or an ad hoc committee of the full board. Or it could be the entire board as a committee of the whole. It's just,
Could be-
that would be your determination.
Board and staff, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good question.
I mean,
Yeah.
if you, and we can include language that spells it out more clearly, Lima, if you.
Depends how everybody else feels.
I mean, we could just say, you know, exact makeup to be determined or something like that, if that makes more sense, but.
Determined by the board. Yeah.
I'd agree.
And then another thing that I'm thinking, on page 2, we have the communications plan for that scenario. But then on page 3, should there be a communications plan
Oh, I see.
for that event, succession plan event or permanent change? Is it necessary then to communicate to groups of people like?
My assumption would be, and again, we can spell it out, so it's memorialized more clearly if that's what the board prefers, but I think at that point, there would be, you know, like the president or the board would be in constant communication with either the acting co-directors or the interim director or whatever, that kind of thing, and that, the communication plan on page 2 is like, what do you do like in the moment when it first happens, but then this is more long-term, and my assumption would be that the board has been in communication with the acting directors over
That makes
time,
sense.
and then they would be the ones to notify staff about, you know, the board is appointing a search committee, and.
I was more concerned with all these other things, you know, communicate to CCS, rails,
Well,
insurance
we
provider.
don't usually, I mean, those are all things that would happen once you hired someone else. So that would be like after this plan. So those notifications would be different, because while you were doing that, presumably you would have either the co-acting directors or an interim director, if you had decided that was the way to move forward.
Doing.
And then doing this work
Gotcha,
already,
okay.
and then
I wasn't sure what the process was.
yeah, and then after a new director was hired is when all those notifications would go out.
Okay.
You know, saying, okay, there's no longer an interim director, or, you know, Courtney is now the director, or whatever, that kind of thing. So you make those announcements afterwards.
Makes sense.
This is more like just, okay, the director's not here, what do we do, kind of, you know, in the moment for the first, you know, couple months sort of thing.
I mean, do you still think it needs to be spelled out then in that case?
It's okay, if the people who are in charge and responsible for that kind of information being disseminated, if they're familiar with that process and doing it on a regular basis anyway in that circumstance, then I don't think it's necessary.
But let's say it's, you know, Courtney, Jeff, or one or both, right, one or both of them, and like I said, that's it, I'm staying in Spain, I'm not coming home, kind of thing, or whatever, and, but.
I think the Spain thing could become a serious.
Yeah.
I know,
That's my thing.
I mean, that's an ongoing threat of yours, you're gonna move to Spain.
Well, you know, it's horrible. I did actually work at a library where someone died on vacation. And so I've always, ever since then, been like, you know, I don't like to use the got hit by a bus, she did not get hit by a bus, she did, so unfortunately. But I know how that feels, so I'm always like, no, we're not gonna talk about depressing things. It's gonna be something really exciting, like you won a bunch of money, you know, someplace great. Yeah, so I mean, anyone that would be acting in that role, either the co-directors from our own staff or an interim director who you would have evaluated on some other, you know, criteria, would know to notify rails and CCS and, you know, our insurance agents and, you know, sickage and all those kinds of things, so.
Well, you were an interim director.
Yeah, I was interim with
Yeah,
Deborah
well,
left, and then I came back, so yeah, it worked out perfectly, yeah.
I mean, this document, I don't know how everybody else feels, but it really made me feel much more like solid because you've spelled it all out. And
Yeah.
these kinds of questions had come up and you've got it all quantified, very clearly listed, organized. Anybody could pick this up, read through it and say, I got this.
I agree, it answers the questions before they have them.
And I did
Yeah.
actually, share it with the managers and ask for their feedback as well, so they have all seen it and have, I incorporated a few of their suggestions as well, so that particularly the two people that would potentially be acting as co-directors, felt that this provided them with that basic level of.
Do we ever have this?
No.
This is just all new. I mean, I don't ever remember seeing
No,
it.
we've never had one.
You were here.
Yeah. No, we did not have this, so.
Okay, just wanted to make sure you weren't bringing it up again.
All right. Talking through some good ideas, thank you for feedback. So the plan is that, I mean, there were a few little tweaks that we talked about. We'll plan on voting on this in July.
Yeah, so the final one will include, I think as I mentioned in the agenda notes, my newly approved job description, our current organizational chart, and then assuming kind of a general organizational chart, should Courtney and Jeff be as co-directors, and so just to kind of work that out. One of the other advantages of having co-directors is that it lessens the likelihood of having to hire someone temporarily to fill one of their management positions, because they can spread out the responsibilities between two people as opposed to one person taking them.
Yes.
And they can
So-
support one another.
And they can
It's
support
not
one
like the
another.
burden's on only
Yeah.
one person.
Yeah, and the management team is really super supportive of each other, and they would all work together anyway, but, for example, Melissa was not interested, I mean, she'll do it as backup, but she is not interested in going any further, but kind of, she likes being head of
Great.
the department kind of thing, so there wasn't like I had to pick and never saw these hard feelings or anything like that. But, spreading out those responsibilities, like I said, would hopefully minimize the burden on the rest of their individual departmental staff, so.
Yeah.
So I, like I said, the full plan would include the job description, and the two organizational charts, current, and then, what we would anticipate with them as co-directors.
Great. Thank you. Right. So, moving on, communications, but everyone does have a hard copy of the per capita grant award letter. Yay.
So this is actually a little bit higher than last year. I
I was
think
gonna
we
ask
got,
what it was.
it's like, I think it's 1.50, I don't remember the exact percentage of per person, per capita, but our total amount is about $250 more than last year. It's $250 more than we had last year, so we will absolutely take it, and yeah.
And it makes me really happy that he, even on his letterhead and how he signs, is Secretary of State and State Librarian, like,
Yes.
he really like
Yes.
takes pride in that.
He is,
And so-
he is a huge library supporter.
love it.
I mean, Jesse White was great for a lot of years and stuff like that, but Alexi is really a huge library supporter and a library user in his personal life and stuff like that, but just really advocates for libraries and that kind of thing, so it's nice to be in a state that does that.
No, it is. It is.
Because there are unfortunately states
Yeah.
that do not,
And it's
so.
easy to take for granted, so,
Mhm.
yeah, so,
You think this is the norm.
I'm
Right, but it's
Yeah,
not.
it's not.
It
Yeah.
really isn't.
Threatened every month.
Yeah.
Mm.
Illinois is actually pretty well known for great library service and resource sharing and
Did
those
we get
kinds
the
of
money?
things. So we haven't gotten the money
Oh.
yet. But I was actually I was reading something about the Illinois budget, and it is earmarked for us to get it. It's just a matter of the libraries getting it, so, yeah. The letter usually comes a couple weeks
I
before
know,
we get
I
the
will,
money.
yeah.
There was one year that we got the letter, that we were awarded the grant, but there were no funds, and we didn't get the funds, so,
Yeah.
But they did say, I did read something about the budget just yesterday, I think, that said the funds.
Checks in
have all
the
been
mail,
earmarked. Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
And of course, we have our awesome stats page with our license plate renewal service, front and center, everybody. That's great. All right, so that's communications, public comments, non-agenda items, it is still just us here tonight. So, it is 7:49.